I gave you guys a little heads up that I would be coming with a message, and it's kind of a big, deep message. So I'm just going to record it and then put it up so that I'm not being distracted by the comments and things coming in on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, where I would put this up. So we've been hearing a lot from my guides lately about all of this, the way things are going to change in 2020, and they're changing in ways that, of course, none of us had even remotely, I knew it was going to be turbulent. Like, those were the words that my guides gave me a long time ago, was turbulent times are coming. So we knew it was coming, but I don't think any of us could have really even wrapped our head around the idea of how big all of these changes are becoming. Last week, with all of this going on, it was really interesting to me because my guides said that there were superficial acts of rioting, and that's what they called it, was superficial. Okay. And I apologize, you guys, the cotton here is like, it looks like it's snowing outside. There's so much cotton. It's ridiculous. So you guys know that I like to work a lot with like the words, right? So I like to always see, when I'm doing this, anytime I get words, like I really, really believe in the power of words. Like, we hear that all the time. And in the Bible, it tells us that our words are powerful. Okay. Knowing what I know about manifestation, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, co-creation, my book, Creating a Life You Love, you really have to focus the idea of your words with your actions and your thoughts, and also your divine calling, right? So it's like, it's when you're in alignment with the divine, the things that you want to do will line up with things that you want to manifest, because it's just, once you're in that divine alignment, they all kind of flow together. So it's really was interesting to me that they were saying that it was superficial riots. Okay. Now, the other thing I've been saying, and I think it was a couple weeks ago on Patreon, the specific words I got were that something would be unearthed. So something was going to be brought to the surface. And then I think a couple of days later, I heard unmasked, and it may have been in the same reading. I honestly don't remember. So if we look at the word superficial, it's saying it's only on the surface. It's only appearing to be true or real until you look at it more closely. That's the part, okay, well, you're not gonna be able to see it because of the way that so if you look up superficial, just Google it. That's the definition that is really calling to me right now, is appearing to be true or real only until examined more closely. So how interesting that my guides use the word superficial for the rioting. Okay. And I told you guys this was going to be a little bit of an intense message. And I did a Facebook Live in the group, in the Embodied Grace community group. So if you haven't heard that, then that kind of gives you a little bit well, first of all, the thing I posted saying, okay, I'm going to do this message, so be ready. And then I posted a live last night because I'm like, I didn't get to the message, and I just want to tell you guys, that I'm not going to bail out, but there's some stuff going on we've got to talk about. My guides are being really, really insistent that we look at this. So I have notes. You guys know me. I like to do notes. So I have notes so that I can stay on track, because as I was channeling this through, they give me little tidbits of what I'm going to talk about. And then as I'm sitting here and channeling it through, then I get the full message of what's going on. So we've been talking again in the groups and with the clients that I work with regularly, and in Patreon, we've talked a lot about generational shadows and generational sin. Now, I just got to throw this out there. Sin does not mean, like, I think we get so hung up on that word, but if you look up the truth of that word, again, look up the true meaning of the word, it actually comes from an archery, an archery term with the arrows. It comes from an archery term, and it's almost like a foul in basketball. It means you missed the mark, because like in archery, you have the target and you want to hit right in the middle, right? You want to hit the target right square in the middle. And so when you miss the mark, that means if you're looking at one of those target boards where there's like all the circles, and then right in the middle is the bullseye where you want to hit. If you don't hit the bullseye, you've missed the mark. Okay. So it's like a foul ball when you really get to the truth of that word. Okay. So when we're looking at this stuff, like the generational sin, the generational shadows, when I did the channeled message the other day, it came through almost more like a workshop, for lack of a better word, where my guides were talking about generational shadows and what that means. So just to give you like a heads up on that, this is like in the generations past, it's where we've missed the mark. Okay, now the thing is, I want to be clear on this. You're not like responsible for everything that happened in all of the generation and all of your genealogy. That's not what this is. But if you're at this space in your soul's path, awakening, your ascension, whatever it is, to where you're hearing this message, then that means on some level, on a soul level, you agreed to come in at this time to clear this energy, because we're in the process, you guys. I know, like, out there things look really crazy, but we're on, like, if you could see what I see on the other side of this, there, it's always darkest before the dawn. We'll just say that. And this is like for months and months, I've been talking about how it's like a pond turning over and all the crap is coming up. So for those of you that are like environmental, you know, the ponds will flip over and all the gunk that's on the bottom comes up, and that's kind of how it filters itself. I remember last fall, I think it was, one of the channeled messages was kind of like, it was, I mean, I think everybody has a junk drawer. It was like somebody just pulled out the junk drawer and just threw it over. Instead of like trying to organize it, they just dumped it. Okay, so it's like this stuff has to come out and we have to start dealing with this. So what we're doing is, if you're in this space, that means that you have on a soul level signed up to help do some of this clearing work, this energy healing, clearing generational shadows and ancestral wounds. Okay, now this is all about ancestral wounds, generational shadows, meaning old programs, paradigms, patterns, undoing any negative beliefs, thoughts, or limiting thoughts and beliefs, and the energy of all of that, regardless of what side you were on. Now, this is what I was talking about yesterday, where it's going to be really hard for me, because here I am, this white woman from America that is talking about doing this generational healing when it comes to racism and slavery and all of those things. But the thing is, all of that gets passed down energetically, whether it's through your DNA, because, you know, if you look at it scientifically, we know that science is starting to prove that you get memory passed down in DNA. Or if you want to look at it from more the metaphysical side, it's knowing that generationally, the words that my guides have been giving me, it's like a generational imprint on the energy that is in your genealogy, because the energy, of course, still also gets passed down. My very first experience with this was a Bible study I did called Generational Sin. And all I had to work with in the beginning was generational. It was just negativity. Like, nothing's ever good enough. We never have enough money, yada, yada, yada. And again, it wasn't anything that any of my family, like my mom, my grandma, like all the way down the line, they hadn't done anything wrong, but it was just an inherited thought, right? And so it's not like this is your responsibility to do it, but on a soul level, you're like, okay, I know that this is going to need to be cleared. I will be the soul that steps up and says, I'm going to do this work. So for those of you on Patreon, I've been getting really, really good feedback on the generational shadows workshop. And then there's like, it's only 15 minutes, you guys, but it is one of the most powerful healings. I've listened to it a couple times myself, and it's amazing, some of the things that are coming up to be cleared in that. So if you're on Patreon, take 15, 20 minutes and just go sit and listen to that, because the angels all come in. There's so many angelic forces that come in to help us with that clearing, that it's incredible. And I've been getting so much feedback, you guys. I've gotten private messages about people that have done that, and the things that are clearing are just phenomenal. And I've even listened to it myself, because the healing that came through is not, it's from the angels. I just was the spokesperson. So when I listened back to it myself on the Patreon app and did the healing myself. So it is fantastic. So the thing is, when it comes to race, religion, anything that is biased or prejudice or any of those kind of words, okay? Now, we need to think bigger than just like right now what's going on with the Black community, the Black Lives Matter. I get that, but my guides keep saying that this is a superficial thing and we've got to look deeper, okay? On top of that, they're saying that things need to be unearthed and unmasked. So I don't really know how long it's going to take until we know what's going on in the collective. But then if we also look at, life as a mirror, because those of us doing the spiritual work, we're always like, okay, so where do I heal? How can I heal? What can I learn now? Like, you're kind of on that quest for what I call the refinement. Okay, so the refinement of your soul. And you can call it whatever, ascension, moving into 5D. I don't care how you label it, but to me, it's refinement by the fire, because it talks about purifying silver in the Bible. You can look all that up and do your own research on that. But to me, that's what that is. So it doesn't matter your background, your skin color, none of that matters to me. What matters is, where are you energetically, generationally tied to some of this negative energy. I don't care if you're on the family history of slavery side, or if you're on the side that had the slavery or owned the slaves or the plantations or whatever it is. Like, there's no judgment on that at all right now. Like, it's almost like my guides are saying, there's no point in judging it. Just clear it, just heal it. Right. Here's the thing though, you guys, you have to intentionally align with unconditional love. So just like yesterday with me, you may still have a day here and there where you fall into that human emotion. It's okay. It's okay to do that. Okay. We are all human. This is hard right now. There is no one, I think, would disagree with me in the fact that this is hard right now. And it doesn't matter where you came from. The interesting thing is, to me, when you're looking at this, we've got to look beyond what we're seeing in the collective. Okay. So we know from history, if we look at the whole broad spectrum of this energy of racism, right, or this energy of prejudice, it goes both ways, because I've seen every race be somewhere prejudiced about the other. I've even seen within the classes, like, oh, well, they're white trash, or they're, hello, that's what, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of laugh with some of my girlfriends from high school. I'm like, yeah, we were the white trash, but we didn't care. You know what I mean? Just because we didn't have the money and all the fancy stuff that everybody else had. So anything like that, you guys, that is coming up as a negative vibration, because the truth is, in divine truth, we are all divine souls here in this experience. And we've agreed to come into this for some kind of soul growth or a mission to help heal the planet. Like, there's some reason that we're here. And so we have to do that. The other thing is, we have to remember that this is also a spiritual war. We are here on the earth. There is contrast and there is darkness at play. And I think that might be some of the superficial stuff too, is that the darkness is keeping the collective, most of the people, so wound up on this stuff that they're not looking at what's really going on behind the scenes. And I really truly feel that. Now, what that means, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know what's going to come to light. I just know that I feel like something big is going to come to light. And I've already said this before, but whatever, like, you have to be detached from whatever comes. So if you were like 100%, like, I'm only this side of politics and that's just all there is to it, I hate to tell you, that's not probably going to be where you want to be. You kind of want to be in this neutral place. My guides have been talking about the middle way. That was the term that I got a few weeks ago, is be centered, be grounded, be in the middle way, because anything that's too extreme this way or too extreme that way, there's lies on both sides. Okay. So I'm just saying, I don't know exactly how that's going to come out. I know there are some key players that are stirring stuff up on purpose to allow things to be brought to light. Okay. Those are the words that I'm saying. So back to the generational healing and stuff. It's looking at, it's looking at wherever it is in your history that you can heal any kind of, I think I'm trying to think of really good words: bias, prejudice, like thinking that you're elevated, like thinking that since you come from a good family, you're not whatever, or thinking that since you are, the opposite side of that is people that don't have money get really pissy and they're angry at people that have money because they feel jealous. And I'm like, that's not healthy either. Like, to be totally honest, okay, this goes back to regular plain old law of attraction. It's always a two-sided coin, right? So like, if you're focusing on, actually, this is going to bring me into some of the other stuff. So there's always two sides, right? So if you're jealous of somebody because they're really rich and they have a lot of money, that's actually perpetuating your own lack, because you're believing that they can have it and you can't. So in that envy, you're pulling yourself away from being able to manifest what you want, right? Now, I always tell people, if you see a homeless person on the street, don't pity them. It won't do them any good. That's sending them negative energy. And I know that wouldn't be somebody's intention. But if I see somebody that's there, first, if I'm called to help them, I will help them. If I'm not called to help them, I just send them well wishes. So what I send them is, I'm praying for angels to surround them with divine light to help them see how they can, if they want to, how they can see where they can lift themselves out of the situation they're in. But we have to remember, everything's a choice. Okay. So if you're trying to manifest a lot of money, don't be jealous or envious of those people that have money, because if you are, that is going to keep you away from manifesting money. I can guarantee you, because it's a negative energy attached to people that have money. So I'm telling you guys, when we get into spiritual truth, the more refined you become, the more you understand and really kind of align and see how manifestation occurs, what co-creation looks like. When you're working with God and your angels and you know that you're in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing, everything gets so much easier. Now, that being said, of course, we're still human. I had a little breakdown yesterday. It is what it is. I'm a little bit probably too tired to be trying to do a live video, but okay. So I'm trying to decide which way of this that I want to go. You guys have been hearing me say, especially those of you on Patreon, I know that I've said this a lot on Patreon, it's almost as if we will be living in two realities. Okay. And I really still feel that, you guys, like the divide between contrast right now, between the differences, the contrast is huge right now. And what was really interesting is my guide says there's a huge chasm between the two. And I'm like, that is such an odd word. Like, because in my mind, I'm like, well, that's like a hole in the rock, like where the rock splits, right? And I'm like, okay, so like drawing a line in the sand. And they're like, no. So I looked up the word, right? Because in my mind, I was like, okay, well, chasm to me is the rock is split and canyon or whatever. And they're like, no, look it up. So here I am thinking it's like the fissure in the rock where there's a hole, right? Or a crack. But when I looked it up, it says there is a profound difference between viewpoints. Absolutely. Sometimes, you guys, I am just amazed. And when they give me words like that and I'm like, no, yeah, I don't get it. That's why I like to look it up, because they always use specific words on purpose for me, because that's how I get my messages. And because I like to research and I like to know exactly what the words mean, because again, words carry power, words create. Okay. So there will be two realities. And the thing is, we can live both simultaneously. So we can live in the higher dimension. So 5D, everybody right now is kind of talking about 3D, 5D. Okay. The 3D and 5D are going to be simultaneously available. And you can kind of live in both, or you can pretty much live in one and just see what's happening on the other. But they're going to be simultaneously going. So they're going on at both times. Okay, I already talked about the spiritual warfare being part of that. And I think you guys already know that anyway. The other thing that they're telling me is what you resist persists. Now, on the video in the Facebook group yesterday, where I got a little bit emotional, I had said that I can't get behind the movement that they're calling Black Lives Matter. Now, I'm not saying that Black lives don't matter. That is not it at all. What I'm saying is I can't get behind this organized movement because the energy behind it is crappy. The idea of it is good, right? Like the idea of saying Black Lives Matter feels really good. but superficial. So when we go back to that word, what's underneath that? It's being led by rage and deceit and destruction. I can't support that. It just doesn't feel right to me. And so that's where we have to get really fine-tuned, you guys, as far as what we align with and how or why we support it. Okay. So there's something in this, you guys, that, and I don't know if that's where some of this truth is going to come up. Like, I don't know if that's where we're going to start seeing truth, or if it's going to be political. I don't know. And for those of you guys that know, I don't feel like, I remember telling my guys, like, but this isn't my fight. Like, I'm not political. And they're like, no, it's not about being political. It's about helping people see where they can heal. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense why this would be something that I would be being called into, because I teach about limiting beliefs and generational. I talk and teach on all of this, right? Like, I talk about limiting beliefs, and I talk about reprogramming your brain, and I talk about getting in line with your divine soul purpose. And I talk about, listening to your guides every day and all of those kind of things. That part I get. So that's where my part in this is to help anybody that's struggling. You have to be willing. Okay. You have to be willing to want to see things from the overall divine perspective. And you can't be attached to anything you think you know. And that's me too, you guys. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know something big is going to come. And the good thing is I feel like I'm detached either way. So I'm not like, oh, this is going to be what's going to be revealed because those people are bad. No, I don't know which side it is. I just know that somewhere some stuff's, I keep wanting to say the SHIT word, but it's going to be revealed and it's going to be big. So try not to be too, I'm actually really glad, like, looking back at 18 years old, I'm really glad I decided to be in the independent category, because I couldn't align with either party either. So it was so weird, but totally side note. Okay. So these two realities that I'm talking about, it was really interesting whenever I was doing this idea of the two realities, because I know a lot of the spiritual teachers are talking about 5D and 3D. Sorry, I had to cough for a second. You guys, this cottonwood thing is ridiculous. My allergies have been crazy. So there's two choices, right? There's these two choices of realities going on. Of course, my guides are saying don't be too extreme one way or another. But I feel like the two choices are either being really stuck in 3D or moving into 5D, and not really being too attached either way. I know that sounds really weird, but it's almost like we're going to be seeing things from more of a spiritual perspective. The other thing that they told me today was, you're going to know which reality you align with by it. You will see them by their fruit, right? So it's aligning with divine truth is what the outcome is. It isn't defining, like, it isn't aligning with certain people. It's all about the energy of it, you guys. Like, right now, it's all about the energy. So in the energy, there's two choices: fear and love. Okay. And I want you guys, this is again where I go into really understanding the vibrational alignment of words. Okay. So fear includes everything like hate, rage, anger, frustration, destruction, envy, lack, dissatisfaction. Those are all words that would fall under fear. When you're looking at love, the first thing I wrote down was Christ light. So to me, it's always about going to God, and Jesus is one of my main guides, and it's always about the Christ light. Like, there's so much love in Christ. It's almost unfathomable. When you first start working with the energy, it's overwhelming how much love you can actually feel. Okay. So Christ, light, joy, peace, unity, love, light, value, inclusive. Those are all words that would be on the love side. Okay. Now this is something else I said yesterday. The anti-racism. That's another one I can't align with. And I'm like, I just don't know. I mean, I know that anti is a negative word, but I'm like, I need to make this clear, because I want people to understand, when you align with something that you're anti something, you're actually, that whole cliche saying about what you resist persists. anti something is a resistance to whatever it is. It's saying that you are, you know what I mean? Like you're pushing against or resisting against that word. Now I've got to tell you guys, look up anti, just look up that in the dictionary. It means you're against. Okay. So immediately it's like you're pushing against it, you're resisting it. If you look up synonyms for anti, it's pessimistic, weak, unfavorable, antagonistic, refusing, rejection or rejecting, oppositional, unwilling, spiteful, and malevolent. Those are just a few of them, you guys. Those are the synonyms. So words that are similar to the word anti are all stuff that I would put under fear for sure. So if you look up the antonyms, the opposite of anti, you find words like ally, friend, helper, united, alliance, collaborate, combine. Okay, you guys, words have creation power. The words you use create reality. Okay. So that's another reason why I can't get behind this whole anti thing, because by getting into the anti-racism, you're actually, what you're doing is actually making it more of an emphasis on the problem instead of the solution. So we've got to start figuring out how can we work towards the solution. Okay. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, so now what I want to get into is what my guides were saying, that they were going to give us an activation. Okay, so as we get into this activation, I just want to quickly say, I kind of pulled some cards about this earlier just to kind of give us a segue from that message into this activation and this healing. Okay. And what I got was, the message was basically, we have to remember, first of all, we have to remember that this is a spiritual war. Okay. So my guides were saying that be strong, be courageous. And the interesting thing is, dare to dream. Like, don't forget that instant manifestation is happening right now. Like, that's something that my guides have been talking about too, is there's still instant manifestation. You can still manifest all kinds of great things if that's where you're focusing. So be careful to get sucked into, I mean, we have to kind of know what's going on, because we need to know what's going on in the world, right? Like, just don't stay there all day. Like, don't stay into that negative energy that everything's bad and terrible or whatever. So dare to dream regardless of what's going on TV. Okay. Because again, not everything's being shown. The other thing that they said is the more we can stay in alignment with divine truth. So stay in integrity, stay honest, stay in love with people. Like, be in integrity when it comes to the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you do things. Okay. So thoughts, words, and deeds. Like, make sure you are in alignment divinely, doing the best you can to stay in the highest vibration possible, aligning with divine love as much as you can. Again, we're human. We'll probably slip out of it once in a while, especially if you watch the news. Do your best to recover, get back to where you are. After my little crying episode on the video I did yesterday, I was like, I just got to go take a minute. I got to go meditate, and I got to go get myself back together here. So, and then don't forget that we have angelic help. Don't forget that we're not here on our own. Like, the angels are here working with us. They're reminding us there's stuff going on behind the scenes. This is a spiritual war, but don't forget that sincere prayers work. Okay. That's one thing I've actually been putting out a lot on Patreon lately, is some more specific prayer. So those of you on Patreon, if you have something specific going on, if you want me to help you make a prayer for that, let me know. I'm happy to do that, because that's one of the things I think sometimes people get hung up on, is like, instead of praying with the positivity, they pray the worry list, right? So when you're praying, keep in mind that words create, and that divine help is there, but we also create with our words. So if you're praying a worry list, you're going to get more things to worry about. It's just the way it works. Okay. But if you're praying with that sincerity, that you believe it will happen, that you believe it's all covered, it makes it easier for things to show up in your life as if they're covered. Okay. So this activation that my guides are saying is actually an activation for unconditional love. That's what they called it, was an activation for unconditional love. And when I got ready to start kind of thinking about this, and again, I wrote some little notes so that I can keep myself on track with everything, that's because there's so much in this message. I tend to say, Father God, I ask that we do this and that we do that, like I'm always thinking about all of us as a group, right? And they're like, no, we have to say I. So when you use this prayer, you want to make it yours. You want to make this activation for you specifically. So and here's why: free will, right? You have to make the decision that you want this activation. You have to make the decision what you want in your life. You have to make the decision of how, whether you divine or whether you align with your divine soul purpose or not. Like, it's all free will. There's a choice in everything you do. We always have choice. Okay. So this activation for unconditional love, you can make the decision yourself of whether or not you want the activation. And just remember that we have complete free will over everything. Okay. So if you want this activation, you can make this specific for you. And again, you guys, I always start with Father God, but you can source, energy, universe, like whatever it is that feels best to you, whatever your term for that is. Okay. So I always just start with Father God. I ask for Jesus and the angels to surround me in a divine sacred space. As I do this healing work, I'm asking for divine protection, divine love to come in. So just imagine Christ light pouring in down through your head, surrounding you in the armor of God. And as that energy comes through, just imagine, like, I'm actually seeing like a brilliant gold, sparkling light coming in from the top of our head, coming all the way in through our bodies. So down through my head and into my eyes, into all the sinus cavity, my whole entire brain, all the way through my face, my jaw, bringing all that energy into your throat, healing and clearing everything as it goes through, all the way down through your arms and out through your fingertips. Divine, beautiful, brilliant light just pouring into your soul, pouring into your body, pouring into your heart, aligning everything with divine love as it comes through. So allow this energy again to keep coming through your body, down and through your lungs, your heart, all the chakras, hitting every single cell in your body as it works its way through. Again, beautiful, brilliant, divine, golden light coming in through your body, all the way through into your stomach, into your hips, down into your legs, down into your knees, and into your legs, all the way into your ankles and into your feet and out through the bottoms of your feet, so that you're completely just filled up with this beautiful, brilliant, divine healing light. Okay. And as we soak up this energy, we ask that we be completely enveloped in spiritual awareness, connection to divine truth, peace, faith, trust, strength, righteousness, and readiness. Readiness to be able to move through whatever it is that we're being called to move through, knowing that we are fully, completely supported by the divine, knowing that we have on the armor of God, knowing that we are here for a sole purpose, and that we can hold this energy of peace and calm and joy and love, and being in alignment with divine truth, letting go of any impurities, letting go of any negative energies, attachments, entities, refining and clearing our own personal vibration, so that as we raise and clear and heal, refine our vibration, it actually affects everyone around us in the best way, in the highest and best way. Almost like the energy resonates out at such a high frequency that the other impurities just fall away. Sending the best, highest light and love from our heart to all of those around the world, all of those around everywhere, the entire world. wishing and hoping for everyone that they know that there is divine truth, that they know that unconditional love is the truth, and aligning with the energy of unconditional love in as many ways as possible in each and every moment of each and every day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen, and so it is. All right, thanks everybody. Talk to you soon.